There's a word that comes to my mind when I think of the band Solstice, and the word is joy. There's something so joyful about everything associated with the band, as far as I can tell, well, at least most of it anyway. And so much of that joy is coming through on the Friends of Solstice Facebook page. To me, it's more than just nostalgia. It's an awareness that a journey that I think a lot of people had thought was over is far from over. The new album proves it, and some of the stories that are coming out on the Facebook page prove that too. So we thought it might be a little bit of fun to dig up some pictures, some of which have been seen on the Facebook page, some of which are yet to be seen, and talk to some of the guys who are part of the journey on stage and off stage, and talk to them about what the journey means to them. To be honest, we weren't sure what to expect. We need not have worried. My name's Martin Kielty. This is Solstice Show and Tell, and I hope you enjoy it as much as we did.
So, you know, this is our pose shot, isn't it? I mean, I don't know where we were, but we came across this Edwin Shirley trucking. I mean, it wasn't our tour, right?
We spied those Edwin Shirley trucks. I think it was Julian Iglesias and
yes,
Marc
it was.
Was playing at Edinburgh Playhouse. So we thought it would be funny to park alongside and then just get one of the bins out and pose at the back of the truck. It was our trucks, and a few people actually fell for it. I think, you know.
I mean, we were must have been riding around in Alfred at the time, right?
It was the Bedford TK, yeah.
Yeah, which was an old converted horse box, which I actually bought initially so I could pull my Peak Diplomat double-decker caravan around.
That was amazing, that machine. Like, I mean, I thought they were mythical until I saw a picture of you in one. They actually really existed. Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, they apparently only built 8 of them. And I was lucky enough to live. I think there were 2 surviving, and I was living in one of them. Well, I bought one of them, and we were parked up in a very conservative area, Berkhamsted, but up on the top of the hill there, away from everyone, on the Ridgeway, which is an ancient pathway. There was a traveller's site that had been there for centuries. And it was kind of secluded amongst beautiful old trees, ancient woodland. And so, we lived up there, a whole bunch of us. I mean, you remember that place, guys. I don't know if we ever played.
Yeah, we did. We did some gigs up there. I can remember sitting around fires. I can remember Mick Softly. And in the programme for Reading Festival, the colour picture is you and Mark wandering through the trees with a Marshall 4x12. It's funny.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good shot. I remember we jammed up there, or we played up there one night, and Fish and Steve Rothery came along. There was you playing guitar, Steve Rothery playing bass, and Fish singing. If you'd have recorded that would have been a good one.
Damn. Yeah. And I tell you who else. I tell you who else came up there one night. Ginger Baker.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. So Alan King, but he was the singer in Electric Gypsy. That was the band that sort of morphed into Marillion, actually, and Solstice, and Solstice, started a little bit later. But so Alan remains a good friend, very good friend of Mark's in particular. And he was friendly with a relative of Ginger's, and he was there. He was looking for a little recreational, for the evening. And Alan said, "Oh, well, there's none in Gerrard's Cross at the moment, but I know someone who might be able to help." So I believe he brought him up to the camp in Berkhamsted, but I was out. And a session started, in another caravan, until I got back. But yeah, that was a star visit for sure.
But I can remember when we first saw that truck, Andy. And, we were kind of sort of thinking, well, how the hell are we going to go to Scotland in this? Because I think there was about 8 of us on the road. I can't remember being involved, but that false floor was put in and then the window was cut in the side. And to me, I thinking, we're going to go to Scotland in this for a week or 10 days, whatever it was. It was really quite something, that was. As was with all the other vehicles that we used, it was insured as a mobile home. It's nowhere near a mobile home any more than it is a bloody spaceship, And I think the means to insure it as a mobile home, to have a means of cooking and a means of washing, and there was a sink that weren't plumbed into anywhere.
That's right.
That didn't have all connected to it on the other side. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So that would qualify for the insurance. I can recall now. I mean, I don't know how old Sue Robinson was at the time, but she was. Do you remember? I mean, she was.
I think she was about 7. I think she was only 17. She's quite young.
She was certainly a minor, and the plan was that she was going off to Scotland for a couple of weeks with 8 blokes in the back of this truck. Now, I mean, first and foremost, it's incredible that she, was spunky enough to want to do that. She was right up for it. But I remember we had to go round to her house, introduce ourselves to her mother, and explain how everything was going to be fine. Your lovely daughter's coming away with 8 hippies in a truck for a couple of weeks. It's going to be okay. Were you there, Mark?
Yeah, I went. I went.
Okay, because I'm thinking, surely we took someone respectable. Surely it wasn't just me and Marc Elton that went around there.
I think it's probably just the 3 of us.
Well, I tell you what, man. I mean, if the same thing had happened to me, this bunch of guys had come around and asked if they could take my daughter off in a truck for a couple of weeks, I would have
You're having a laugh.
I would have said, "You're dreaming, man. Get away from me."
It's different times, and you hear that said so often, and it's true.
I think the infrastructure, though, of just the basics of touring was still in its infancy back then. I mean, I remember in about 2003, 2004, hiring a tour bus for a band, and it was an old tour bus from that era, and it was a single decker. It had been used by Status Quo. I think they'd customised it, just taken a single decker and customised it. And it was about 20 berths, and the berths were 4 high. So you basically had belly room in 2 inches to sleep with sardines. And there was a crawl space down the back and behind the back axle and underneath it. And that's where the driver had to sleep. And it was like, it's an absolute death trap that was probably not legal 15 years ago. But, you see Edwin Shirley trucking was just about the only thing that stood for, that's our real tour, that's rock and roll, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. You've made it.
Together.
Exactly right, and then that's why we were so keen to pose in front of the dance.
Exactly.
Any opportunity
a
to
real band.
Oh yeah, a real band.
Yeah, I mean, we did move on up a bit, didn't we, in terms of our transport? I mean, that was literally, as Martin said, it was a false floor, gear was underneath, everyone else was just like rolled together on top of it, right? And someone in the front. I mean, it was insane. And we got pulled by the police once, didn't we? And
I think I was either driving or I was in the front, and that we said we were a band, and of course they wanted to look in the back, and luckily everybody up on that false floor laid still and quiet, and the cops had no idea there was about 7 people up there. They saw all the gear, and that they were relatively satisfied by that, and that was good, and we were let on our way. But the other thing that I remember distinctly is there was no direct communication between the back of the truck and the cab. And
that's right.
There was that boom box that was used to pipe music through a wire into a couple of speakers in the cab. And then when people in the back wanted to go to the loo or needed a refreshment break, they recorded on the cassette and then would play the cassette incessantly until the people in the cab pulled into the service station for a bit of peace and quiet,
I want to hear the story because I can't remember it. And we had an altercation with the police was it Nottingham Forest?
Yeah. Okay.
And actually, one of us got carted off, I think.
Yeah. If you remember, we were between gigs, and we'd parked up alongside Mick Ware's truck in the forest there, and we were just up the road from a little village called Edwinstowe. and we drifted down there in groups of 3 or 4. And we went in the pubs down there, and whether or not it was just pure chance that that later on the police came and checked us out, I don't know, or whether it was the people in the pub said, "Oh, there's a lot of strangers floating around." But we had wandered back up to the park, the car park where the truck and the bus were, and I was with Martin, and we saw this car where there was a couple of lovers, having a little bit of canoodling, and as they drove off, another car pulled in to the car park, and you couldn't see because it was headlights, it was dark, and it turned out to be a cop car. And anyway, Martin had got some blow on him, and he'd got a knife as well. And I think he ran and hid him behind a tree, but of course, too late. The cops saw him in the headlights, and they went after and checked him out. And while he was doing that, I came across to the bus, and I said, "Guys, the cops are outside. If you've got anything, get rid of it." And I think, Andy, you put a load of stuff in a tin and buried it in the leaves outside. And what we didn't realise is that we were parked only a few miles from Ollerton Colliery. And of course, it was during the miners' strike, and there were cops everywhere because they were on the lookout for flying pickets, And before we knew it, we were surrounded with cops. And Albert it was Albert's bus, and he'd got the dog, and the dog went nuts. So the cops didn't come on the bus. And there was because it was autumn time, there was all the leaves around, and we reckon that one of the cops probably kicked the tin and picked it up and just buggered off with it, because try as we might the following morning, we searched high and low, and that tin had gone.
Yeah, it'd gone.
Damn, man. So those coppers went off and had a little smoke then?
They probably did. Yeah.
Buggers.
But, and I believe Martin, he got taken off to the local cop shop. He got interviewed, but he was released the next day, and I think we picked him up, and it was all. They didn't charge him.
Martin was crew, wasn't he? I mean, he was
a great guy. Yeah,
he was great. Yeah, I mean, the knife was a crew item. I mean, it wasn't a weapon.
And I mean, that was the tour, of course. That was the tour, of course, where we did Exeter University. We played there on the Friday night, and they loved us. And they said, "What are you doing tomorrow, then, boys?" And we said, travelling somewhere else. We haven't got a gig. And they said, "Right, how do you fancy playing the main Christmas bash? In the main hall?" And that's that picture of Mick Ware and Martin with shaving foam around them. That was taken in that hall, and that was when we stood in for the Boomtown Rats, because Bob Geldof couldn't make it because that was a day they were in London recording Do They Know It's Christmas. So we stood in for the Boomtown Rats while they recorded that song. Rest is history, man.